Donald J. Trump emerged as a pervasive force in American public life, eventually becoming the 45th President of the United States. His ascent to power and subsequent actions have been the subject of intense scrutiny, analysis, and debate. For some, he represents a disruptor, challenging entrenched systems and advocating for a populist agenda. For others, his leadership style and rhetoric are seen as deeply divisive, contributing to political and social polarization. Understanding who is Donald Trump necessitates a look beyond the headlines, into the foundational elements of his career, business ventures, and ultimately, his political transformation. Born in Queens, New York, in 1946, Donald John Trump was one of 5 children to Fred Trump, a prominent real estate developer. Records indicate that he grew up in affluent surroundings and attended the New York Military Academy. Following his graduation from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania in 1968, Trump joined his father's company, Elizabeth Trump & Son. He initially focused on urban renewal projects in the outer boroughs, learning the intricacies of large-scale construction and property management from a young age, positioning him to eventually take over and expand the family's extensive real estate empire. In the 1970s, Donald Trump increasingly took control of the family business, rebranding it as the Trump Organization. He shifted focus to high-profile projects in Manhattan, famously developing the Grand Hyatt Hotel and, in 1983, completing Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue. These projects, along with ventures into casinos and hotels in Atlantic City, established his reputation as a bold and sometimes controversial developer. His strategy often involved aggressive self-promotion and the extensive use of his own name as a brand, a technique that would become a hallmark of his public persona long before his political career began. By the early 2000s, Donald Trump had become a household name, largely due to his role as the host of the reality television show, The Apprentice, which premiered in 2004. The show featured aspiring entrepreneurs competing for a job within the Trump Organization. His catchphrase, "You're fired," became iconic, cementing his image as a decisive, no-nonsense businessman. This period significantly elevated his public profile, transforming him from a New York real estate magnate into a national celebrity. Analysts suggest this media exposure played a critical role in cultivating an image of leadership and business acumen, which later proved advantageous for his political ambitions. Donald Trump's political aspirations were not sudden. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, he occasionally explored presidential bids and shifted his political party affiliation multiple times, identifying at various points as a Republican, Reform Party member, and Democrat. However, it was in 2011 that he began to gain significant political traction by publicly questioning President Barack Obama's birthplace and eligibility for office, a movement widely known as the birther controversy. This marked a clear shift from his business and entertainment focus to a more direct and often confrontational engagement with national politics, setting the stage for his eventual presidential campaign. In June 2015, Donald Trump formally announced his candidacy for President of the United States as a Republican. His campaign message, centered on "Make America Great Again," resonated with a segment of the electorate. Key proposals included building a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border, renegotiating trade deals, and repealing the Affordable Care Act. Despite facing significant skepticism from political establishments and media, Trump won the 2016 presidential election against Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton, securing 304 electoral votes to Clinton's 227, though he lost the popular vote by nearly 3 million. His victory represented a significant upheaval in American politics. During his 4-year term, President Trump pursued a policy agenda focused on deregulation, tax reform, and trade. In 2017, he signed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, significantly lowering corporate and individual income taxes. He appointed 3 conservative justices to the Supreme Court, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, profoundly impacting the judiciary for decades. His administration also withdrew the U.S. from the Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement and the Paris Agreement on climate change, fulfilling campaign promises. These actions were met with praise by supporters who lauded his commitment to his agenda, and criticism by opponents who raised concerns about their long-term effects. President Trump's time in office was marked by numerous controversies and investigations. The Russia investigation, led by special counsel Robert Mueller, probed Russian interference in the 2016 election and alleged coordination with the Trump campaign, concluding with a report that detailed contacts but did not establish a criminal conspiracy. He faced 2 impeachment proceedings in the House of Representatives. The first, in 2019, focused on his dealings with Ukraine, the second, in 2021, on his role concerning the January 6 Capitol attack. Both resulted in acquittals by the Senate, highlighting deep partisan divisions within Congress regarding his conduct. The 2020 presidential election saw Donald Trump run for re-election against Democratic challenger Joe Biden. Biden ultimately won the election, securing 306 electoral votes to Trump's 232, and also won the popular vote by over 7 million. However, President Trump and his campaign launched numerous legal challenges, alleging widespread voter fraud, claims which were largely dismissed by courts across the country due to a lack of evidence. The period culminated in the January 6, 2021, attack on the U.S. Capitol by his supporters, an event that drew widespread condemnation and further intensified scrutiny of his rhetoric and actions. Since leaving office in January 2021, Donald Trump has remained a dominant and influential figure in the Republican Party. He has continued to hold rallies, endorse candidates, and shape the party's platform, often from his Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida. His post-presidency has also been marked by ongoing legal battles, including investigations into his business practices and his role in the January 6 events. Despite these challenges, public polling consistently indicates a significant base of support among Republican voters, suggesting his continued relevance in American politics and his potential to shape future electoral outcomes, making his trajectory a subject of ongoing observation. From a Queens developer to a global brand, and eventually to the Oval Office, Donald Trump's journey is a singular narrative in modern American history. His impact on the political landscape, the Republican Party, and the national discourse is undeniable, but it remains a subject of fierce contention. Critics emphasize his rhetoric's polarizing effects and challenges to democratic norms, while supporters credit him with economic growth and a commitment to conservative principles. As he continues to play a role in public life, the full scope of his legacy is still being written, prompting ongoing reflection on how he will ultimately be remembered in the annals of history.